because it's not just signing Dan Moore at left tackle.
Which, that's a hefty contract for Dan Moore Jr.
Good money if you can get it. It's premium Dan Moore Jr. money. Out of all the Dan Moores, this is as good as it gets. He's the richest of the Dan Moores. There's got to be some CEO of some stupid company that's named Dan Moore.
Dan J. Moore is the president and CEO of Rockefeller Group.
See? I didn't know that, but there's got to be a rich Dan Moore out there calling the shots somewhere.
That's true. Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's Connor Rogers. It feels like on our last breath here for free agency week. Connor, we were joking before we hit record. This week, the investment that free agency week is for us as like content creators,
right.
I always underestimate.
Same.
Every single year. I don't know how I do not learn from this. But I underestimate what it takes to keep, because I go into this week going, oh, you know what? Oh, cool. A couple of guys are going to sign here. A couple of quarterbacks going.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
We'll be all good. You're basically glued to your phone for 72 straight hours.
Terrible way to live.
It's a wonderful way to live, and I wouldn't do it any other way. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. Free agency week is a lot of fun. It has that Christmas morning feel. But you're right. It makes you think like, I can't wait for tomorrow. All these signings are going to happen. And then the next 3 days, you're like, wait a minute. I have to not only react to all these on multiple shows. Which
wait, where's my family?
Yeah. But never heard of them. But then I also actually need to do my job and think about the ramifications for the draft, which is a lot of what we are going to talk about today, because the beauty of free agency is it kind of gives you a little bit of a better roadmap for the draft.
Yeah, so we're recording this on Wednesday night. So, the ball has dropped on the new league year. We are officially here. It's the 2025 calendar year, 2025-2026 calendar year for the NFL season. So that's officially underway, which means we got to actually get ink to paper of a lot of these agreements that we saw on Monday and Tuesday. A lot of the official trades got to go through. We're going to do a big episode where we totally redo all of the team needs post free agency for every single team. But we thought about doing that today because a lot of the big news has happened. But there are so many players. Like, for example, we're going to get to one of these, and this is just a topic that we're touching on today. Like Evan Engram going to the Broncos. Is it the biggest signing in the world? No, but it means a lot for the NFL draft. And so, even little stuff like that's going to happen, I think, over the next couple of days. We'll get back with you guys next week to do the team needs episode. But here, as I just mentioned, one of them kind of teased the conversation we're going to have. We're going to take 10 moves, whether they're trades, signings, re-signings, whatever it is, cuts sometimes. And we're going to tell you the 10 that we think have been the most impactful for the 2025 NFL draft. And I think, dude, it was hard to narrow this down, but once we got to a solid 10, I felt great about, these are the big storylines sort of moving forward as we head to April.
Yeah, we were talking through them, and there was a lot of, you obviously look at the premium signings, the guys that get north of $20 million per year. You look at the quarterback movement. You look at even like a big trade in DK Metcalf going to the Steelers and how that could be a 2-for-1 where it's hey, Seattle needs wide receiver help. And now the Steelers maybe don't, although that could always be a TBD. You never know if there's a move after a move. So there is just so many.
After the move, before the other move?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, that's the fun in all of this is that once again, it just kind of gives you more puzzle pieces to work with.
Yeah. So let's just start off, and we'll sort of go about this in draft order for the 2025 NFL draft, because I think that's a good way to do it. Just start at the very top of the draft. With some of the teams that have quarterback needs, did they address them? Did they not? And then we'll sort of work our way down the first round with all of that. And we could talk about some moves that really we thought impacted the first round, some that might be ripple effects more towards rounds 2 and round 3. But I think we got to start off at the very top, and we got to talk about the quarterback position, because as of right now, again, this is Wednesday evening. Sam Darnold has signed with the Seahawks. Justin Fields has signed with your New York Jets. Daniel Jones is with the Indianapolis Colts. Jacoby Brissett's a backup now for the Arizona Cardinals. Marcus Mariota is a backup as well. Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson have not signed yet. Geno Smith goes to the Raiders. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. it feels like Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It feels as though, Russell Wilson, he's taking a visit to the Cleveland Browns. He might go to Cleveland. He's also taking a visit with the New York Giants. But, buddy, as we are recording this show, the number one move that was made that impacted the 2025 NFL Draft is, in fact, a no move from the Tennessee Titans and the New York Giants right now. They have no changes at quarterback. None. We've done so many different draft conversations talking about, the Titans, they'll be interested in Cam Ward, but hey, are they going to go after Justin Fields? Are they going to go after Sam Darnold? Are they going to go after Aaron Rodgers? Nothing. Nada. Zip. They have one quarterback on the roster right now, and it's the guy that they tried to make their franchise quarterback last year, and he couldn't do it in Will Levis. They're not going into next year with just Will Levis. So to me, the big storyline for the draft, amongst a lot of storylines, is the fact that I am now at like 80-85% that Cam Ward's going number one overall. Ooh. What else are the Titans going to do?
With the Titans staying put. Right, which this, number one, I don't think you're crazy at all. It almost makes me wonder how it got so carried away. And I know they were taking calls and they were open for business, but it felt like everyone just ran with, hey, the Titans, they said they're going to take a generational player. That means they're taking Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. And I know, like, we even discussed this a little bit. But once the coaches get involved, things change so much in the draft process. And I would imagine a lot of coaches started watching tape and go, why is Cam Ward not the bona fide top pick in the draft where there's no other quarterbacks in our eyes? I'm saying from a coach's lens, whether people agree or disagree, however that is. For a team that needs a quarterback, obviously, you're right, Trevor. Like, maybe they just stay put, take Cam Ward, and go. Because here's another breadcrumb trail.
Throw it at me.
They're making moves on the offensive line.
Yes.
So, which they had to anyway, but they are really reinforcing it because it's not just signing Dan Moore at left tackle.
Which, that's a hefty contract.
It's hefty.
For Dan
it's
Moore
hefty.
Jr.
Good money if you can get it.
Yeah, it's great money if you can get it.
Especially if you're Dan Moore Jr.
It's great Dan Moore Jr. money if you can get it.
It's premium Dan Moore Jr. money. Like top of the food chain, out of all the Dan Moores, this is as good as it gets.
It couldn't happen to a better Dan Moore,
No. He's the richest of the Dan Moores. If there's a richer Dan Moore, please leave it in the comments below.
Yeah, we need to know.
There's got to be some CEO of some stupid company that's named Dan Moore. J.C. Latham moves to right tackle, which he's more comfortable. I was always floored that they drafted J.C. Latham and they're like, he's a left tackle now. When it just made sense to keep him at his home at right tackle, especially with his play style. Kevin Zeitler, who is just going to be a solid guard until he's 80 years old in the NFL. It feels like he never declines. He's in the fold now at right guard. You have Skoronski at left guard. You have Cushenberry at center, who was a big signing for them in previous years. They have a fortified offensive line right now where, like, you could draft a Cam Ward and play him right away and say, we feel pretty good about him back there. We're not a complete offense, but this is the Callahan family running this team. This was always going to be priority number one for them before anything else.
We already need to walk back our Dan Moore Jr. praise because Dan J. Moore is the president and CEO of Rockefeller Group.
See? I didn't know that, but there's got to be a rich Dan Moore out there calling the shots somewhere.
That's true. Dan
is
Moore
he number
Jr.
2?
I hope. God, for his sake, I hope. I really do.
He's got to be.
Maybe he's got to fight the other Dan Moore. Now we're getting carried away.
He should. Winner takes home the other one's wealth.
Wow. And then the other guy's got to change his name too.
Yes.
And if Dan Moore from the Rockefeller Group wins, he also takes Dan Moore Jr.'s job.
Yes, he plays left tackle in front of Cam Ward for the Titans.
Yeah.
That absolutely is spot on.
This is good. Somebody call up Dana White. We might be able to actually make this happen.
Yeah, this is starting to check out here. This is what they call $1 million idea, folks.
Yeah, Dana White. Trevor Sikkema, Connor Rogers of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. The line will go dead before we can stop.
Would it ever technically be open?
saying the title of the podcast. No, but I agree with you. They're making moves along the offensive line. The receiver group is not great, admittedly. They basically have Calvin Ridley, and that's it. They signed Van Jefferson, but that's basically it. They made their moves along the offensive line. And if you're doing that for a quarterback. Certainly you could say, all right, we're doing this well if Will Levis is the guy next year. I can't hear the if Will Levis thing. No. With them taking, we just did a mock draft, and when we did the mock draft post-combine, I talked about how I really felt as though the Titans were going to lean into that generational prospect thing. But that's because of what I've heard. The longer that we're around this league, that we cover this league, the more it rings true. A lot of these teams, coaches, general managers, owners, whatever, they can lie with their words. They will not lie with their money. They don't do it.
No,
they don't just spend money to throw you off of their trail. And when I look at what they are doing investing in the offensive line, and specifically what they have not done at the quarterback position, how they are using their money, I think Cam Ward's going to go number 1 to the Titans. I really do.
Which, man, what a gut punch that kind of is for, you would think, the Giants.
So I feel really bad about the Giants because that's the part 2 of this, right? Not only did the Titans not only have the Titans not done anything at quarterback, the Giants haven't either. And unfortunately for the Giants, it's not for lack of trying.
Right.
We learned last year that they were in on conversations to try to get up to number 3 overall to take Drake May. Patriots ended up saying no. We knew that they were in the Matthew Stafford conversation. I don't know how much they were in the Geno Smith conversation, but the Giants have been out there. They've been trying to do this. And it doesn't feel like Aaron Rodgers is interested in staying in New York, so he's not going to stay with the Giants. It looks like he's going elsewhere. And basically the only quarterback the Giants have on the roster is Tommy Cutlets. It's Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, that's it.
So they're sort of in the same spot that the Titans are. So you would say to yourself, they've got to take a quarterback no matter what, which now makes it even more interesting because I came on this show after the Combine and said, I don't think Shedeur is a guaranteed top 10, top 20 even pick at this point. But if the Giants have just Tommy DeVito going into the draft, guess what's happening at number 3?
Right.
They're drafting Shedeur Sanders.
Because it's either get fired or see if Shedeur Sanders could save your job and maybe still get fired. But you're saying there's a chance.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's amazing. And the Giants spent money like a desperate team, which is fine. I'm not saying they made bad moves out of desperation,
they need to get better, right?
Like Paulson Adebo is a hell of a corner. Javon Holland's a hell of a safety.
Love what they did in the secondary. I really do. I think it's perfect.
It just kind of fortifies the point that they can be cornered potentially into. Yeah, it's going to be real interesting. We know Russell Wilson's going to visit with them after the Browns at the time of this recording, but that's not a guy that anymore that's the long-term answer for your franchise.
Yeah, because Russ is going to sign a 1-year deal max, right? Similar to what he did with the Steelers. It's going to be another 1-year deal. And basically at that point, everybody's going to be on 1-year contracts. Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, Russell Wilson, the whole regime's basically just going to be on 1-year deals, which is sort of difficult to operate under. So, look, I don't like speaking in absolutes. Like, Cam Ward's absolutely going number 1 overall. Shedeur's absolutely going number 3. But it has been shocking to me the lack of quarterback movement that we have had for those 2 teams in particular. Because the whole time I was under the assumption that they're going to do something. And again, I feel really bad for the Giants because they've tried to do something and they've tried to do things worthwhile, right? It's not like they've just thrown anything at the wall. They went after Drake May. They went after Matthew Stafford. Like, these are worthwhile quarterback moves, and they've just come up empty every time. But it's hard for me to not think that, hey, just a week or a week and a half, whatever it's been after the Combine, when we were slow in the roll on the quarterback conversation in the top 10, we might have to ramp it up now because of the lack of moves between those 2 teams.
For some perspective, too, Cam Ward, as we sit here and record, on the major sports books right now, his odds to go number 1 overall range from the lower end of minus 295 to the higher end of minus 400. If I was the trader setting this price for a book, I would have it at minus 500 right now. I would not even give a bet or a big chance to lay a huge bet and collect. Because if the Titans stay there, how do they not take them? If they don't stay there, somebody's coming up for Cam. Mm-hmm. So you're right. It's crazy how things could, quickly solidify themselves.
Yeah, at this point, again, like from the lack of moves of those 2 teams, it just feels as though he's going number 1 to the Titans or he's going number 1 to the Giants and they're going to trade up.
Right.
That feels like...
Or if the Titans trade it, maybe the Browns call. You never know. The point remains. The point remains.
And so that brings us to number 2. So that was number 1. Number 2, I do want to talk about the Cleveland Browns because since we last recorded that mock draft episode, Myles Garrett signs the massive extension with this team. He's making $40 million now per year. They also go out and they sign Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, which is not the biggest signing in the world. I understand that, but it's another body along the defensive line at the edge rusher position. I now think that with Garrett back and with them taking a flyer on Tryon-Shoyinka, they really might have Travis Hunter number one on their board. Quarterback depending on how they view the quarterback position. Like, of players who are not quarterbacks, I really do wonder if they have Travis Hunter at number one, and they feel pretty confident that they're going to get him at number two because they're mitigating some of their edge rush needs. Certainly bringing back Myles Garrett helps, but not that Abdul Carter can't go number two, Connor, but I feel more confident that Hunter would be the pick at number two than Abdul Carter at this point.
And you brought up Tryon-Shoyinka, the $40 million to Myles Garrett. How about a 2-year deal for Malik Collins, who's pass rush first in my mind on the interior of the defensive line, which that's a signing that came in really in the second wave of free agency. So they've now spent significant dollars up front. And like you said, Trevor, it's not taking Carter off the board, but man, you look at what Hunter could do from them. I'm sure his ability as a wide receiver is something that excites them as they, Elijah Moore's out there in free agency. Cedric Tillman, before he got hurt, flashed as more of profiling as your number 2 or number 3. Judy, we'll see. But, man, you'd love the chance to get somebody that can help on both sides of the ball. I think you're onto that one. It makes a lot of sense for the Browns. And if they took Carter, so be it. But it's funny how things just kind of go full circle with the draft.
Yeah.
It is. And here we are sitting here and going, hey, the top quarterback is probably going number 1, and hey, our top player is probably going number 2.
Yeah, no, it feels that way, especially because when you look at the Browns roster, might have a little bit of a cornerback need as well, because Martin Emerson has been okay, but he struggled a little bit last year. So you've got Greg Newsome, but he plays more in the slot for you. You have Denzel Ward. You're happy with him on the outside, but it's like, yeah, like you said, you could play Travis Hunter full-time as a wide receiver, but if the Browns are maybe one of those teams, like perhaps Kevin Stefanski looks at Travis Hunter and goes, yeah, buddy, play both until you can't. Like, until you prove to us that you can't play both positions in the NFL, we'll play at corner, we'll play at wide receiver. We'll go through the lumps. We'll teach you along the way. We'll be in for the long haul. So, again, given the needs that they have, they've got Jerry Jeudy, they got Cedric Tillman, like you said, but how great would this wide receiver group be with those two guys, and then you're throwing Travis Hunter in there? You got David Njoku as well. You still don't have quarterback figured out long-term, but at least you traded for Kenny Pickett, right? They traded something for Pickett, and so they feel as though, I guess, they could start Kenny Pickett and feel decent about it. I know some fans might roll their eyes, but I'm just telling you the moves that they have made that feel like you said, the hints, the breadcrumbs of where they might go. It feels like Cam Ward's going number 1. It feels like Travis Hunter would be going number 2. I don't want to be doing a full mock draft here, but things get very interesting for the New York Giants at number 3. Do they force a quarterback selection there? And then, man, the New England Patriots at number 4, right? That's not a talking point that we have, so I want to be kind of brief on it, but they just revamped their defensive line, right? They got Keon White, they got Harold Landry, they signed Milton Williams, they have Christian Barmore. Would they take Abdul Carter, or would he continue to fall? Would maybe a team try to trade up? Because at that point, man, if he's on the board at number 4, all of a sudden this brings up our number 3 team. Do the Carolina Panthers pick up the phone and they go, we need this premium pass rusher? Because
it's a great idea.
I like what the Carolina Panthers did in free agency here. They signed Tershawn Wharton, really good, strong interior defensive lineman to play next to Derek Brown. They got Bobby Brown III as well, who was a good run stuffer.
Yeah, beef up the run defense. It was 100%. A problem last year.
And then they went out and they got Patrick Jones as well. So I like Patrick Jones. Now, does Patrick Jones stop you from drafting Abdul Carter? It absolutely the hell does not. But man, if somehow you could throw Abdul Carter into this defensive line with Carolina, that is a massive shift in potential every single week with Wharton and Derek Brown fully healthy, Bobby Brown III. You already have other dudes on the interior defensive line, but you got Jadeveon Clowney, you'd have Patrick Jones II, you'd have Abdul Carter. Whoo! I'm getting excited just thinking about that, of what could be for Carolina here.
Yeah, that could be prime time for Carolina. I mean, you got Trayvon Merrick now on the back end. It just feels like they're a team that's going to be much more responsible against the run. can you get the pass rusher that could take over, to kind of close out drives, which is what Carter is? Or do they look at themselves and go, we love what we saw from Bryce Young. We better get another playmaker in this offense ASAP, which will be on the table. And the good thing is you could still do that on day 2 of the draft. So the door is a little bit more open for a Panthers team where it felt very narrow for a long time.
For sure. At number 8, I really do feel as though just for the flurry of defensive line moves that they made in free agency, I know they took a swing on Milton Williams and he ended up going to the Patriots, and so that was kind of hard because I think Panthers fans for, what was it, like an hour, 2 hours, thought that they were going to get Milton Williams because of the initial report, and then he ends up going to the Patriots.
Apparently he was on the Ourlads roster. I can't confirm or deny that, but I've heard that. It's not their fault. It was out there.
We had the initial report. The initial report was out there that he was going to be a member of the Panthers, and then it just, that's showbiz, baby. That's a tampering period, baby.
That's the legal tampering period. You can change your mind when somebody comes to the door with more money.
Yep. I don't know actually how the NFL does it, but you know how in college, how when you have those recruits, you have to fax in your letter of intent, I feel like we need that for the tampering period. Fax in the letter of intent. You
Don't
can't
they
back
still
out.
fax in the picks for the draft? I'm almost positive they do.
Do they really?
I'm almost positive it's like some kind of format of every NFL team is on the server seeing the picks come in. And that's why the TV is so behind the actual draft.
Right.
Is that it's like that style that everybody's getting the picks.
See, that's what we need to do. We need to hack into, the server.
And change the picks?
Yeah.
Well, I don't...
No, not change the picks. That's complete chaos.
That's the move.
I just want to look at the picks.
Oh, no, I want to change the picks.
You're an animal.
You know how many of my life woes would have been solved? I could go back and get Christian Hackenberg away from the Jets in round 2. All of my lifelong problems out of the way because we found our way into the fax machine.
Hey, when's the last time you've played the This Is Who We Could Have Had Instead of Christian Hackenberg game? Because I feel like we should play that
let's play it.
All right, let's look it up.
Drafthistory.com, here I come.
Let's look it up. Christian Hackenberg. First thing that comes up is him in an Eagles jersey. That's stolen valor.
Oh, good Lord.
That's stolen valor. Okay, Christian Hackenberg, second round pick, number 51 of the 2016 NFL draft. Let's see who was picked after pick number 51.
Deion Jones, who was
immediately after.
Definitely better. Tyler Boyd, better.
Yep.
By far. Oh, man. How about me and you had a hell.
Oh, no.
A hell of a run here.
What have I done?
Roberto Aguayo.
What have I done?
Roberto Aguayo at pick 59 does not get brought up enough in draft lore.
I played myself so hard.
You really did. You forgot. I brought out my demons.
So much worse than Hackenberg.
Yeah, it is because it's the process. Like, you don't... Didn't they trade up for him? Man.
Unfortunately, I think you are correct.
Aguayo was in the NFL for 1 year and was 5 for 15.
They traded an extra fourth rounder to go up and get him. I forgot.
And he's arguably the worst kicker in NFL history, like based on expectations. It's actually amazing.
So here's this is honestly why I would never draft a single punter or kicker ever, no matter what.
I wouldn't do it.
It's the Roberto Aguayo story because the thing that is the most difficult to judge with kickers is always how they handle pressure, right? Roberto Aguayo should have been foolproof. I'm not giving Jason Light a full pass here, even though I like the pick at the time, I would have been wrong as well, but this was basically a foolproof pick. You were picking a kicker that had kicked in the biggest games in college football. That was a major part of your national championship run. That played in the college football playoff. He played in big moments, in rivalry games, in bowl games, games to start the season, ranked opponents, on the road, national championships on the line, and he kicked beautifully. At the time, I think he was the most accurate kicker in college football history.
I mean, his first 2 years were absolutely insane.
And then he couldn't kick in the NFL. Just all of a sudden.
Couldn't do it.
I'd never draft a kicker again.
No,
I
I
didn't
wouldn't
enjoy-
even acknowledge the position.
I didn't enjoy that exercise at all, actually.
Let's see who's the better players taken after Christian Hackenberg. Roberto Aguayo was a jump scare.
Yeah, that was tough. James
But man, a
Bradbury's
lot of
in this
good players
class.
taken after Hackenberg and
Kevin Byard.
Aguayo.
Yannick
James
Ngakoue.
Bradbury.
Joe Tooney? Oh, no.
I mean, the list goes on.
Javon Hargrave was in this class?
Malik
Justin
Collins,
Simmons?
Yannick Ngakoue, Jonathan Bullard. This
Wow,
class
dude.
was great after the
Gatorade.
Hackenberg and Aguayo picks.
Oh, this is the Dak Prescott class. Tough.
You almost couldn't miss in those spots. And we took the two worst players in the
And
entire
yet-
draft.
And yet,
Airball.
we do, baby.
Airball.
Boom. Love that. All right, let's get off of this real
Fun
quick.
trip
So,
down memory lane.
Yeah, love that. Panthers, the defensive line signings, I loved it. It gives them a ton of flexibility. There's no doubt about it. If a Tetro McMillan falls to you at number 8, I think you could consider him here. I even think that if Tyler Warren is there on the board, the Panthers have done enough on the defensive side of the football to draft a guy like Tyler Warren. So that was our number 3 impactful sort of team signings and hauls that we had there. Number 4 from us is the Raiders trading for Geno Smith. Now, this is big, of course, because at number 6 overall, we roped in the Las Vegas Raiders with those other teams, with the Tennessee Titans, with the Cleveland Browns, with the New York Giants, with the Jets at the time, but now the Jets have signed Justin Fields, so they're no longer in that conversation either. But the Raiders answered their quarterback question in a massive way, going to get one of, in my opinion, certainly the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL, and I think that Geno Smith is just slept on for everything that he has done for the Seahawks over the last couple of years. I am worried about Sam Darnold in that offense. Now, I think that the Clint Kubiak connection's a really good one there for Seattle, but until they fix that interior offensive line, holy cow, I felt like Geno made do with a lot of what he was given from that offensive line. So I'm excited to see him reuniting with Pete Carroll there in Las Vegas, but taking a quarterback off the board, quarterback needy team off the board in a big way there frees up number 6 overall to where who knows what's going to happen at this point.
Ashton Genty, come on down.
For sure. I think he's absolutely in the conversation. He has to be. Tetro McMillan in the conversation too. They don't have a wide receiver 1 on that team.
There's so much they can do. I love this move for the Raiders. The fact it cost them a lower end 3rd round pick. You get a guy that it's proven he could play in this league. And Geno's high moments are really, really good. Mm-hmm. He's throwing to Brock Bowers. He's got Jacoby Myers. Their offensive line, I think, is better than it gets credit for and continue to get better throughout this draft. I mean, they're a team that quietly could take Armand Membu at 6.
And I like their offensive line. I don't know if I totally disagree with you, though.
I like their line a lot. I know right tackle's been a little bit up and down for them over the years.
It's true. Glaze was okay.
It depends how they project Glaze, which is a different regime.
Yeah, right.
It depends how they project Glaze. I think the 4 across the other way are going to be fine, but
I agree.
But if they took Genty, would I blink? No, wouldn't shock me at all because now. I mean, the reality is if you trot out an offense that the defense has to worry about Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty with Geno throwing the ball, it's like, you know what? And I don't think this is Pete Carroll, right? Let's remember this. Pete Carroll is Mr. I want to run the football. He just picked one bad moment to not do that, but we'll ignore it. But
You're not wrong.
Pete Carroll, oldest coach in the NFL, he's going to want somebody that comes in and makes his team as better as possible. Mm-hmm. Like identity, day one star. And Genty is absolutely that.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Sincere McCormick's the starting running back for him. All due respect, obviously. But I think that they are, in my opinion, a lock to draft a running back at some point. They have
first 3 rounds.
Yeah. And they have all of their 3 picks. They've got number 6, number 37, number 68. So they do have all of those selections there. But yeah, I think an offensive piece, I think it's Ashton Genty. But the fact that they now have Geno opens the door to Armand Membu is on the table, Tetro McMillan's on the table, Ashton Genty's on the table. So that's what I would think of those guys. Now, I mean, speaking of Ashton Genty, let's go to our team at number 5, the Chicago Bears. For them to do what they did, speaking of Ashton Genty destinations, I mean, he is now on the table for the Bears at number 10 because of everything that they have done. not only was it fixing the offensive line, bringing in Jonah Jackson, bringing in Joe Thuney, signing Drew Dahlman, which I think was just excellent all around. All of those moves, absolutely loved it. They also go out and get Dayo Odeyingbo to play opposite Montez Sweat as a little bit of an insurance, depending on how Austin Booker develops. So now you get into a situation where, and didn't they also sign Grady Jarrett?
They did.
Right? So look, Grady Jarrett's not what he used to be in his prime for the Atlanta Falcons, but he's at least a veteran pass rush specialist now in a room full of younger interior defensive linemen.
He'll help.
The Chicago Bears, in theory, damn near complete of a team. You are now, you now have the Chicago Bears at a point on this roster where you go, here you go, Ben Johnson.
Win games.
You better win games, because this is about as realistic as it gets for you to do that. And the only thing is that now they also have the cherry on top of number 10 overall, number 39 overall, number 41 overall. What a fun as hell draft this could be for the Chicago Bears. I see it now. I see it in the comments. Off-season champs last year. What did that get him? Obviously, it's a new coaching staff. I've got a lot more faith in what Ben Johnson's building than what I had with Matt Eberflus. I think the Chicago Bears have done a masterful job, and I think Ryan Poles has everything on the table for them at number 10.
Yeah, we asked Chensey at the Super Bowl, like what
if he's looked for houses in Chicago yet.
Basically, we just said, who are you looking to go to? And he lit up about the Bears. Which, how many guys are honest, like that honest? He lit up about the Bears. And the man might be right. He might have called his shot months before the draft. You're right, Trevor. This roster looks really, really good. It does. And it's on both sides of the ball. It's going to come down to what coaching gets out of this roster. But, you maybe one more elite pass rusher, like you said. We'll see how Austin Booker comes along. But they have starters up front. But, man, you rebuild that entire interior of the offensive line. You can afford to take a Genty at 10. Assuming they're happy with Braxton Jones at left tackle, which I would think they are. There's not some bona fide left tackle I would take at 10 anyway. So, I know they paid Cole Kmet. I don't know if Warren's even going to be there. If
the Warren is there, that makes a lot of sense for them.
The Bears become very difficult to figure out if it's not Genty.
Yeah.
I guess in theory you could start to talk about some of the pass rushers, but I don't know, man.
I was going to say does Chicago feel like they can now, because what are their picks? Their picks are, I mentioned the top three.
I guess they don't 10 and 39.
They don't have a lot after that. Their next one, so it's 10, 39, 41, and then 72.
That's great, though.
No,
Four picks in the top 75?
What I'm saying is, have you navigated free agency well enough now to where the New England Patriots come on the board at number 4? Abdul Carter is still there. Do you call up Mike Vrabel to go from 4 to 10 and give them what they need? One of those second-round picks, obviously your pick at number 10, and then something next year. I don't think you will have to give up an extra first. I don't think that is what you would need to do to get up to the top 4, even for a player like Abdul Carter. But something on day 2, if you're the Bears and you give up 1, 2, and then some sort of day 2 capital, I would start with a third-round pick, of course, to see if they go for it. Dude, you go up and get Abdul Carter? Gross. You draft a running back at 39 or 41, whichever one you keep?
Yeah, Judkins.
Sick. Love it. Incredible. No notes. Absolutely no notes.
Super Bowl.
Love what the Bears have done. Bears fans, we know you're a passionate bunch. This is an exciting time for you. I know last offseason was also exciting, so you're probably trying to tell yourself to not keep your hopes up. Get your hopes up. We want to hear the hope in the comments. What do you want the Chicago Bears to do at number 10? And that goes for all the other teams as well. By the way, while I'm here, if you guys are watching this show and you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. We're going to have so much great content for you between now and the end of April. We're going to continue our positional rankings. We're going to get into the collab mock draft series. We're obviously going to, like we said at the top of the show, review all of the team needs and go through primary, secondary, ancillary needs for all of these teams as we head into April. So if you're not subscribed to the show, please do so you don't miss any of it. Before we get to our next 5 and the 5 most impactful moves that we saw in free agency when it comes to the NFL draft, question for all the parents out there. what's your child's future success look like for you? Maybe it's them traveling the world. Maybe it's just them, living in a comfortable spot with a job that they absolutely love, in a house that they love, family they love, all that good stuff. Just relaxing and being able to do that. Whatever their dreams are, big or small, you can help them get closer to that with a kids investment account from Fabric by Gerber Life. Fabric by Gerber Life, it was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With a kids investment account, you can start investing in your child's future today. Kids cannot invest while they're minors, but this kids investment account from Fabric allows you to invest on their behalf and giving those investments a lot more time to grow. Whole thing's online, starts with just $20. There's no contribution limits. It's tax advantages. It's got SIPC funds, the funds are SIPC insured, up to $500,000. No commission fee, just a low flat monthly maintenance fee. The funds can be used for basically anything. It doesn't have to just be, when they're a lot older. When they're kids, it could be help with tuition or sports or music classes, tutors, whatever. And then when they're a little bit older, maybe it is helping them buy that first house, start that business, get the first car, basically anything. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family and start investing in your child's future today at meetfabric.com/stock exchange. That's meetfabric.com/stock exchange, MEET fabric.com/stock exchange. The portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Learn more at meetfabric.com. All right, 5 down, 5 to go. The most impactful moves that we have seen in free agency when it comes to the 2025 NFL Draft. I threw this one up here. I wonder if you agree about how impactful this is, but I think it is. The Cowboys didn't do a lot in free agency. They never seemed to. But something that they did that was really intriguing when the new league year opened up. They signed Jack Sanborn from the Chicago Bears. And then they traded for Kenneth Murray Jr. at the linebacker spots. When I've been doing mock drafts, Connor, I have often had either Jalen Walker or Jahad Campbell go to them at number 12 because their linebacker need was that dire.
Yeah.
I no longer think they have to have that on the table. I no longer think that Jahad Campbell is going to go to the Dallas Cowboys at all whatsoever, because now you get to sit here. You have that signing of Sanborn. You've got that trade that you think something of Kenneth Murray Jr. And now you have DeMarvion Overshown coming back from injury, which you feel good about. And you have Maris Liufau behind him. So I don't think I went from, in the span of like 24 hours, I went from the Cowboys are drafting a linebacker at 12 to they're not drafting one at all, probably in the top 100. So I don't know now what Dallas does. They signed Javonte Williams as well to have a chance to be their RB1 this upcoming year. But, man, do the Cowboys feel like, if Will Campbell gets here, does he not drop any further? If Kelvin Banks Jr. gets here, does he not drop any further? Are we turning our attention to now the offensive line with the Dallas Cowboys at number 12?
It feels like that's the logical, assumption, because that's such a typical Cowboys pathway, and they have the needs on the actual line, which goes a long way. So, this is a team that doesn't really partake in external free agency at big contracts. They take care of their own guys.
Saying it lightly.
Yeah. It was since 2015. Greg Hardy was their big.
Is Greg Hardy's the last guy that they have signed from outside of the building in the tampering or free agency period at more than $6 million a year?
It's hard to do.
It's almost 10 years, brother.
Let's be real.
Wait, hold on. Wait. It is 10 years.
It is 10 years. It is 2025, partner. I mean, there's bums that get 1 year deals up to $9 million. Sorry, but someone has to say it. But certified bums.
Stephen A. Smith clip. He's a certified scrub. He can't play.
The meme Hall of Fame is just literally clips of him on iPads as you walk down it.
Dude, 2017, 2018 was a golden time because the Stephen A. Smith burner Twitter account was popping off, and it was just clips and memes of Stephen A. Smith.
And they all hit.
I still have the one on my phone that I will use every now and then where I don't even remember who he was talking about, but it was on his radio. It was on his podcast. And he just goes, he's fat. You understand? And that's it. That's the whole clip.
Oh, God.
And I'll use it at the perfect time. All right, so what are the Cowboys? All right, so offensive
line.
No,
this is a good point by you because these aren't like Sanborn and Murray, people wouldn't think, oh my God, Sanborn and Murray, but they now have a little bit of depth at a position that was a bleeding need.
Yes.
It was awful. I mean, they probably think both those guys are starters for them. So they did get some depth on the defensive line in Solomon Thomas and Peyton Turner. I'm not saying these are needle movers, but their goal was to go out and get guys they feel like they can play on defense, which tells me in this league, pretty much, you got to draft and develop and pay your offensive linemen. Going out and buying, what you're going to do is, if you want to go get a guard in free agency, you're going to pay a mediocre guard as a great one more often than not. Tackle, good luck. Like,
yeah.
Shout out to Dan Moore Jr., who's once
shout
again,
out to Dan Moore Jr.
He's fine. Like, he's fine. Fine. He's paid to be great. Whatever. This is the larger point. So yeah, I would think offensive line for Dallas all day, unless there's a Tet McMillan trick up their sleeve.
I mean, I think
Matthew
it's a great
Golden trick up their sleeve.
Yeah, I think it's a great point by you. You can't find good offensive linemen hitting the market. It just rarely happens. And when they do, you have to pay a premium. You're either paying bad offensive linemen like mid-offensive linemen like starters, or you're paying like starter guys like they're absolute stars because you've got to outbid everybody else because there's plenty of offensive line needs around the NFL every single year. So no matter what, if you go fishing for an offensive lineman in free agency, I mean, you better have some expensive bait. Like that's what it is. Or you're not going to get that fish to come home. And so I agree with you. The way that you set it up there, the moves that they are making does feel like they're going to prioritize the offensive line. And I don't think it is lost on them that they are losing a future Hall of Famer in Zach Martin, that Zach Martin is retiring. And I think if they have the opportunity to draft Will Campbell, they will absolutely do it. And I believe that they'll probably put him right at Zach Martin's spot and say, There we go. We're good to go for the next 10 years. And I think that they'll feel pretty good about it. Or there's, of course, the Ashton Genty. Or, like you said, Dallas could have a big trick up their sleeve.
Dallas is the team that just shouldn't do that, no matter what. They're just...
Which team?
Dallas should not be in the conversation to take Genty. Oh. I know they are, but they are the team that go get a day 2 running back to pair with Javonte. Mm-hmm. Use your premium asset on offensive line or your number 2 wide receiver. You're just not good enough to use the 12th overall pick in the. And I know people will be like, "How could you say that when you just said that about the Bears?" The Bears have filled out their needs. They need the quarterback to play better, and they need the coach to actually coach. That's the difference.
This is the Saquon Barkley conundrum, right? Giants fans, John Mara even, mad that Saquon's not there and watching what he did in Philadelphia. Saquon would not have done what he did in Philadelphia with the New York Giants. Ashton Genty would not do what he could do with the Chicago Bears with the Dallas Cowboys. One of those teams is ready to draft a running back high. The other one is not. So I think it's the same conversation.
With Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell on this offensive line, could Cam Skattebo or Travion Henderson or, you know what I mean, down the list, could that work? Hell yeah, that could work.
Yep.
Hell yeah, brother.
I agree. Brother. Number seven on the list. I teased it at the very top of the show. It's a small move, but one that I really like. To the Denver Broncos signing Evan Engram, who was released by the Jacksonville Jaguars as they have a new regime now with a new general manager, a new head coach. He was one of those old regime guys that they ended up moving on from. Now, I love this for the Denver Broncos because it also pairs with Dre Greenlaw coming in as a linebacker, Talanoa Hufanga coming in as a safety. And now they get a tight end where they could lean on Evan Engram. Is Evan Engram exactly what he used to be with the New York Giants? Okay, maybe not. But you can lean on... You can lean on Evan Engram and feel pretty decent about it.
Jacksonville did for 2 years.
So that totally opens up the Broncos to do a lot of stuff. Dude, I know that people feel this listening to this podcast. Every single damn time we do a mock draft, what do we do at 20?
Take Colson Loveland.
Every single time.
I'll do it again, damn it.
Now, I'm not saying that it wouldn't still be a good pick for them to select Colson Loveland. He's still on the board. However, when we were doing one of the PFF Live shows, a Broncos fan got in the super chat and said, hey, you got to think about this, though. Yeah, they need tight end, but it's a deep tight end class. Yeah, they need running back, but it's a deep running back class. Next year, 3 of their starters along their defensive line, one of them being Zach Allen, is an unrestricted free agent.
Right.
So do they get ahead of the curve and take a Kenneth Grant at 20, a Walter Nolan at 20, one of those really good interior defensive linemen to beef up the defensive line, similar to maybe how the Philadelphia Eagles have done it in the past, and then in round 2 and round 3. So we ran a really quick Broncos-specific mock draft, and I think we came away with Walter Nolan at 20, Elijah Arroyo in the 2nd round, R.J. Harvey in the 3rd.
You hammer your needs.
So sign me up for that if I'm the Broncos. And I think that this move from the Broncos alleviates them from just taking Colson Loveland at 20. And it allows them to have so much more flexibility in how they want to navigate the first round and their primary need.
Without a doubt. And that's why they were so aggressive to get the DJ Jones contract done before free agency, because he's your big run defender. But John Franklin Myers, if you've been following Twitter, is not happy right now, which is, the Jets moved on from him last year, which was a mistake for the Jets, but they kind of knew this day was coming, and now he's not happy. He wants a payday. You brought up Zach Allen, who is vital. You're right, Trevor. Like that defensive line, you blink in a year, can get really thin, even with DJ Jones back in the fold.
Yep.
So that's in play. I think they're another team that could look for a number 2 wide receiver. I don't think they have to do that. Cortland Sutton is a free agent, I think, after this year. I'd have to double check that. But
I do think wide receiver is on the board for them.
It's a need for them. If they took like a Matthew Golden or Luther Burden, would I be shocked? No. Yeah, Sutton's got void years after this year, so he's a free agent unless they redo his contract, which they've redone it before.
See, I like Marvin Mims. I like Devon Vele. I like Troy Franklin.
Yeah.
Like, those dudes are fine, but they're wide receiver 3s.
They're all
I think
3s.
They're still missing a wide receiver 2 if you consider Cortland Sutton a wide receiver 1. So if they were to draft a Matthew Golden, that would make a lot of sense for me there as their wide receiver 2. So I think that he is on the board as well. Broncos fans would love to hear from you. How does their free agency moves increase their flexibility of what they could do in the first round? Do you still want it to be Colson Loveland? Would you love for it to be a different player? Let's hear from you. I'd love to. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the number 8 impactful free agent moves team that changes things for the 2025 NFL Draft because they acquired DK Metcalf for a hefty price. Number 52 overall, and they're paying him
money.
$30 million a year over the next 5 years. At least that's an average. Of course, there's the guarantees involved, which could give you some flexibility for that to not be a 5-year deal. But they also go out and they sign Darius Slay as well, as the Eagles released him. So the Steelers, if we don't give the Steelers quarterback, which we gave them Shedeur Sanders in our most recent post-combine mock draft, if we didn't give them quarterback, those are basically the only 2 positions that we draft for them. Defensive back, corner, and wide receiver. They hit those needs hard with those 2 signings. So now, again, I think the Steelers have ultimate flexibility on what they could potentially do at number 21. And with no quarterback in hand, they're certainly a team that's going to be eyeing potentially taking a quarterback, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, whether it's Jackson Dart, whoever it is potentially at number 21, especially because now that they don't have 52, they don't pick again until 83. So they go 21 and then 83. So this number 21 selection for Pittsburgh could be anything at this point. What do you think about Pittsburgh's situation now that they have DK Metcalf, that they have Darius Slay, and just their team needs overall?
Well, they really need Aaron Rodgers, number 1. Which I know is a weird thing to say with the state of Rodgers at this point of his career, but you don't go out and get DK Metcalf and Darius Slay on the tail end of his career. Metcalf, he'll turn 28 in December of this season, so he's in his prime. But you're paying him all this money in his prime. You're trying to have Slay be a bridge at corner. This is a team that's trying to win and trying to get over this hump they can't get over. Mm-hmm. So assuming that they're going to bridge it at quarterback again, because they're not a team that plays a brand of football that needs the quarterback to be a hero every week. You're right. Things are wide open. With this, they also signed Brandon Eccles from the Jets. They still need another corner, in my opinion. Like, Eccles wasn't a starter for the Jets. He was a depth guy that started when people got hurt.
Was he okay when he started? Like, could he?
He's so volatile. He'll make an incredible pick six or interception, or he'll get burned. It's like it's a very hot and cold kind of corner, which could be, he can create takeaways, but he also can get beat.
Because they have Beanie Bishop too,
right? Who I thought kind of punched above his weight last year.
And I like Corey Trice, and I know they like Corey Trice too, but he's dealt with a lot of injury during his time when he was at Purdue, and I know he's gone through injury in the NFL as well. So
are they a Walter Nolan team? Shamar Stewart, although it's a little late for him. I think Shamar might go before that pick.
I'm wondering if Omari and Hampton's on the table for them, because they signed Kenneth Gainwell. They have Jalen Warren.
If they do that again, and I love Hampton.
Wait, what are you saying? Like, draft a running back in the
Steelers
first round?
take a running back in the first round.
Brother, it's Pittsburgh. Come on, it's the Steelers.
I know this is the issue. This is why you're where you are at this moment. That would be a hard sell for me.
I wonder if George Pickens is on this team by the time
they
come on the clock.
Because if he's not, that's a big difference.
Then we're talking about Luther Burden, Matthew Golden. I don't think they'll draft Jaden Higgins at 21, but wide receivers, other wide receivers.
3 guys walk into a bar: George Pickens, DK Metcalf, and Aaron Rodgers. Do you immediately run?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
I mean, that trio is I will watch every Steeler game.
So here's something that I would love to pick your brain on about the Steelers situation. Because I feel like we're in limbo right now with the Steelers, because I don't feel as though Pickens and Metcalf are going to still be on this roster, maybe even before the draft, but certainly before the season begins. And that's because if they end up signing Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, he's not the same quarterback that he was in Green Bay. Like, he's not going to be this deep shot quarterback all the time
anymore.
So you have 2 on the line of scrimmage, alpha, deep ball receivers, and you're about to sign a quarterback who does not play that type of game. So to me, Metcalf in and of himself might not be a fit necessarily for what Rodgers wants to do, but certainly it won't be a fit if there's both of these guys on the roster, because that's how you would be building your passing attack, and that just wouldn't line up with what Aaron Rodgers. So I want to ask you about where was Aaron Rodgers when it came to deep passes last year with the Jets? Was he still doing it? Was he reluctant to do it? Was it effective?
Extremely reluctant for a variety of reasons. Number one, he's old and gets hurt quickly now, which credit to Rodgers, he plays through it. But once he's hurt, he doesn't want to stand back there and get sawed in half over and over again.
Right.
So he's not going to hang in the pocket to push the ball down the field anymore. That's done. You look at who he connected with the best. Devontae Adams wins immediately off the line of scrimmage. Garrett Wilson's really good off the line of scrimmage as well. Those guys are quick separators. Rodgers this is what happened to the Jets offense and why the run game fell off a cliff. They were never under center because of Rodgers, and everything was trying to be quick at a shotgun or the pistol. And that's you don't think of Pickens and Metcalf as, hey, the corner's playing 8 yards off me, let me just whip the ball to him, and now he's going to make things happen after the catch, or he's going to win with a quick release.
Right.
That's not what you think of when you think of those guys. So I don't see, if Rodgers is their guy, I don't see any way that it makes sense to have Pickens and Metcalf, where the deep targets are already severely limited with Rodgers under center. One of them will implode halfway through the season, and I would bet the house it's Pickens.
If they still expect both of these guys to still be on the roster and coexist together, this team now becomes the favorite to draft Jackson Dart, in my opinion. Because that's literally how Jackson Dart won as a quarterback at Ole Miss, right? It was just deep shot stuff.
Yeah, Trey Harris is down there somewhere.
100%. And it was them. Not that he couldn't hit the stuff underneath, but he wants to throw the ball deep. So whether it's at 21 or whether it's them trading back or moving around the draft, I think that this becomes a Jackson Dart destination if they genuinely want both of those receivers to stay on the team.
Over under, George Pickens brings back a 5th-round pick?
Under.
Ooh,
I do think it's under.
I don't know.
Because, dude, if it's over, you don't trade that guy.
Yeah.
Why would you trade George Pickens for a 5th or 6th round pick?
Yeah.
That would be nuts to me.
He's a free agent after this year, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I think you just ride it out and hope for the best. It's not. I didn't do this. I didn't want to make this is it. I didn't create this. I'm just saying.
Oh man, when Mike Tomlin has to answer questions about his wide receivers cryptically tweeting in weeks 5, "My brother in Christ, you made the sandwich." All right,
that's the good
let's
stuff.
move on. The Steelers are very exciting, though.
Do we have to? I'm loving this.
I cannot wait to see how they navigate number 21 now, especially with what we think is going to be Rodgers signing with them eventually. How they navigate the rest of the offseason, and then what they do with the draft.
Pickens and Metcalf, when things are going right, are going to be like the Dudley boys. They're going to be breaking out the tables to put a cornerback, like the 3D, a cornerback through the tables. When things are wrong, they might be fighting each other. Which is fine.
You want me to tell you who's had the most unsportsmanlike conduct penalties at the wide receiver position since DK Metcalf came into the league in 2019?
Is it a trick answer where it's not?
No, it's DK Metcalf.
Okay.
You want to know who number 2 is?
It's got to be George.
It's George Pickens.
He's throwing hands down the field all the time.
It's George Pickens.
All the time.
So your Dudley Boys meme. Your Dudley Boys meme checks out. It's either Metcalf has the most total penalties and George Pickens has the second most, or it's specifically unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, which I know they both have a lot of as well. So
they will be must-see TV.
They're two peas in a pod. The best case scenario, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, just throw on Mighty Ducks D2. Just show them the Bash Brothers and be like, hey, these guys, they were both of the enforcers, and then they hated each other, but then they became best friends, and they beat up a bunch of Icelandic people. Yeah. And they'd be like, that's what we're trying to do here. So they'd be like, oh, okay, now I see the vision. 9, the Minnesota Vikings. So a little bit further down in the order, they're picking number 24. I love what the Minnesota Vikings did in free agency.
Hell yeah.
Ryan Kelly and Will Fries along the interior offensive line, major boost there. You brought back Aaron Jones. You brought back Byron Murphy Jr., which I really like for them. And then on the defensive side of things, John Allen on the defensive line, Javon Hargrave. Okay, those players, maybe they're not exactly what they used to be, but they're still really good signings for this team that needed to get veteran presence and needed to raise the floor of what their interior trenches were going to be on both sides of the ball. So, yes, I understand you're losing Sam Darnold. It's always going to be a bit of a mystery of what's going to happen when you make a change at quarterback. Could not have loved what the Vikings did anymore, especially because we talked about them not picking after 24, not picking again until 97. Now you have the flexibility to move back in the draft. Now you don't feel like, oh, well, we have to draft a starting guard at 24 or we're screwed. Oh, we have to draft a starting interior defensive lineman at 24 or we're screwed. You don't feel that way anymore. So now you get to trade back and acquire some other picks. And, man, it's like the trade up for J.J. McCarthy and the trade up for Dallas Turner. I don't want to say never happened, but it makes it a lot easier given how they were able to navigate free agency and get a lot of those interior trench players.
Yeah, I think when you look at what they were able to do by letting Darnold walk, which wasn't the easiest decision, is you can allocate so much of where that money would go to a defense that Brian Flores was getting the most out of, but didn't always have a ton of help. Now you have two guys in Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave that can win one-on-ones. They can get after the quarterback in pass rush situations where maybe you don't have to blitz to generate pressure all the time. You look at upgrading this secondary, which was a big need for them. I guess the number one thing, and obviously the interior offensive line, it's not nitpicking because it matters a lot, but Trevor, they really need, and I know they wanted Daniel Jones in this role so badly, and he went somewhere where he thought he had a better shot to play. They need a real backup quarterback behind McCarthy. And it's not because I'm sitting here going,
they don't have anybody.
Nobody.
They have Brett Rippon.
Rippon's a practice squad guy for them right now, right?
Brett Rippon.
Or a futures. Yeah.
Respect.
Futures contract. Respect Brett Rippon. McCarthy's coming off a significant knee injury and is a rookie quarterback. You need that veteran voice. I think they'll find a way to get that done, but you wouldn't want your season to go in the tank with all of this. They have a great roster, and they have elite coaching on both sides of the ball. You don't want to be one quarterback injury away from your season going in the tubes because of that.
Yeah. They need stability, right? They need wisdom, stoicism. Jameis Winston, basically, is who I described there.
Stability in Jameis Winston.
No, I genuinely think that Joe Flacco could be a legitimate target
Makes
for
a
them
ton of sense
as a veteran quarterback, because I do agree. I think that it's a move for them there. But I loved what the Minnesota Vikings have done, and I think it is more likely than not they're not picking at 24 anymore. They are going to be moving back in the draft because they feel like they probably have that flexibility. We've talked about how we think the draft is deep as well, so maybe they don't believe the prospects that are on the board at 24 versus just throwing out a random number like 38 or something is really that vast. Right. They get to pick up another pick in the third round or something and have another pick there. So it feels as though what the Vikings did allows them to navigate the NFL draft exactly the way they need to. Would love to hear from Vikings fans as well. Do you want them to stick at 24? If so, do you have a target, or do you want them to move back? The last moves, two moves really, but from the same team, that I think really impacted the 2025 NFL draft is what the Houston Texans did along their offensive line. This was a group that really struggled last year, especially on the interior of their offensive line. They were moving Titus Howard in and out. When I say in and out, I don't mean of the lineup. I mean at guard, at tackle. They were trying to have him at a couple of different spots to find out what the best five out there could have been for that team. But their best pass protector, no question about it last year, was Laramie Tunsil. He was the only one who graded anywhere near an elite PFF passing grade. It was an 89.9. The next highest was Titus Howard. It was like a 72.7. And after him, it was stuff in the 60s and even in the 50s, 40s, and 30s for some of those guys that were starting along the offensive line. They ship off Laramie Tunsil to the Washington Commanders for a decent haul getting back, but you're losing your starting left tackle, the best offensive lineman that you had. So you already had offensive line needs going into the offseason and going into the draft. Now you just made that much more glaring. They also traded Kenyon Green, their failed first-round pick, as well, to the Philadelphia Eagles. They got back C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which I think was great for them to play in.
Their secondary is stupid good.
It's so sick.
It's so sick. No-fly zone part 2 level
It's
stuff.
amazing. It is amazing, especially with that rotation of like C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Jalen Petrie when he's fully healthy. I mean, I love it. I really do. They're going to be playing with their hair on fire. But the offensive line, I mean, you're kind of playing with fire here.
It's
now,
dangerous.
After Tunsil gets traded, Lance Zierlein, who lives in Houston and has got close connections with the Houston Texans, he said, like, look, I was trying to give you guys hints of this for a while because Lance knows the team pretty well. He's like, they were not happy with their offensive line last year, not just in their production and how they played, but also the leadership, the attitude, how much dog they had in them. And he was sort of subtly saying that Laramie Tunsil was probably one of those guys on that chopping block for a reason. But that doesn't change the fact that you just traded your best pass protector. And it doesn't change the fact that C.J. Stroud is now halfway through his rookie contract, and he is about to go into next season with the worst offensive line he has had since being in the NFL, unless major changes are made. So I can understand wanting to set the tone, wanting to get the culture right, all of those things. But you're playing with fire. And now you're in a very pivotal season with C.J. Stroud taking that next step and how much time he has left on his rookie contract. So what do you think about where the Texans are at? Do we think that with all those extra draft picks, because let me see, since the New Year League year opened up, we should have all of their picks now to them. No, we don't still. Okay, like Tankathon doesn't have it updated with them getting
picks.
The Washington picks. Because I think it's an extra third round and a fifth round this year.
For this year, yes.
Right?
So as I'm seeing it right now, they have pick 25, 58, 79, and 89 in the top 100.
Yeah, I think they should have Commanders picks, though. Because none of those are the Commanders picks.
You are right, because one of these picks... No. The third rounder is for the Tunsil trade. It's just been passed around a lot.
Oh, it was just Miami's.
Have you seen how this pick has traveled?
No.
This apparently was the pick that the Eagles traded for Jahan Dotson. Do I have that right? But it was originally from Miami. How the heck is pick 79 in the draft?
On Tankathon, it has this as Miami's pick, which could have been Miami's original pick, but that was the one that the Commanders traded them?
I need to figure this out.
So it would have been Miami.
This right.
Yeah, go ahead.
This pick is traveled.
We're Sherlock Holmesing this shit right now. We're getting to the bottom of it.
If I have this right, this is the fourth team this pick has sat with. If this is right. Draft Tech does a really good job of like making a chart that it's easy to see who picks where, and then they'll put team names next to it. So I want to find the Dotson trade. So Dotson was traded for a conditional third-round pick that was the higher of the Eagles or Dolphins pick.
How'd they get the Dolphins pick?
So I think that's right. Why did the Eagles have this Dolphins pick? We got to find that out.
We got to get to the bottom of it.
I can't go to sleep without knowing this.
I thought you had it right in front of you. You don't. We got to do more digging after the show is over.
This is driving me insane.
We'll get to it. But anyways, they've got some more ammunition now to be able to move up to get aggressive. I think if Armand Membou is within striking range, if a Kelvin Banks Jr., if Josh Simmons is within striking range, I don't think they're going to sit back at 25 anymore. I don't think they can. They can't just sit there at 25 and watch all the best offensive tackles go off the board. Now, unless you feel really great about all of them, and when all of them I say basically Armand Membou, Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks Jr., Josh Connerly.
Jalen Wright trade. Right? Is that it? Did they trade a future pick to move up to get Jalen Wright?
That could be. I
Miami traded a 2025 third-round pick to the Eagles in exchange for the 120th pick in the 2024 draft. They used the pick to take running back Jalen Wright. Okay, so Miami traded a future asset to go up and get Jalen Wright this year to the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Eagles in the Jahan Dotson trade was a conditional third.
Mm-hmm.
And that pick went from the Commanders in the Laramie Tunsil trade. Holy shit.
We did it.
That's what you get with this show.
Yeah, you guys could tell. Connor was not going to stop.
I had to know where that pick originated from.
We were not going to stop this show until that happened.
You're going to see next time behind me, it's just like my drawing board of the trickle effect of the picks. Like True Detective.
It's the Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
where
yes.
Like foaming at the mouth, just pointing.
Yeah, exactly.
Look,
the trade.
I was gonna say while you were just deep in it right there, I was explaining how I think the Texans are going to be a prime team to move up for an offensive tackle because they can't afford to sit there at 25.
Hell no.
They might get incredibly lucky and the offensive line run might start way later than we think. But to me, I don't think they can sit at 25 and just be like, oh, well, we like Josh Connerly. Like, if you love Josh Simmons, you go up and get Josh Simmons. You just traded Laramie Tunsil. Like, you now owe it to C.J. Stroud to do everything you possibly can to put the right team around him. So
that's the tough part. It feels like to me, Caserio coming from New England his entire life, they do the get rid of a player a year early rather than a year late. They clearly think the wheels are going to fall off the bus for Tunsil in his 30s.
Yeah.
Now, even if they're right, I don't think any of us think the wheels are going to fall off the bus for Tunsil this year. And you are not that different from the Commanders. You're not. CJ Stroud's going into year 3. Jaden Daniels is going into year 2. You need a franchise left tackle for your very young quarterback. Your young quarterback that, not to his own faults all the time, but took a step back last year. He was unbelievable as a rookie. Mm-hmm. The offense as a whole, the offensive coordinator got fired, and the line stunk, took a step back. So, but that's a long way of saying I don't know if it's worth it just because you think you're a year ahead on a guy falling apart, unless you have a surefire solution. Let's see if the Texans have it, In this draft, I'm just not as confident when you're picking that far back. If they were picking 7th, 10th, even 14th, I'd be like, maybe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of risk with this. A lot of risk. And man, if this shit looks the same next year, this line and Stroud, it's the same thing, people are going to be pissed.
It's going to be tough because then you're 3 years into Stroud's rookie contract. You'll get the 4th year with him on his rookie deal, but then you will be up for an extension. And guess what? They're not going to extend CJ Stroud. They're not going to play around with that. So you basically have this upcoming year and next year for Stroud to be on that rookie contract. You could sign him to the 5th-year option and sort of extend his contract after that. So they might be able to get a little bit of life out of it. But I don't want to say that you're running out of time, but the clock is ticking on his rookie contract, and you just made your offensive line significantly worse in the short term. Maybe you felt as though it's a situation where, hey, you got to cut the debt out, or you got to cut the bad culture, people in the locker room out, and it'll be better in the long run. But the long run better come pretty quickly, or else you're going to be having to build this team around CJ Stroud making top 5 quarterback money, because that's where we sort of expect him to be. We will see. Those are the 10 moves that we thought were the most impactful when it came to changes in the 2025 NFL Draft. We would love to hear from you guys as well. Let us know what you thought about what your team did in free agency or what they didn't do. Talk to us about some of your favorite moves and moves that you genuinely think changed the NFL Draft, either the ones that we mentioned or some new ones that you're thinking of there. Maybe some new draft targets for your team as well before we get to the team needs. Best way to do that, youtube.com/NFL Stock Exchange. Obviously, if you guys are still sticking around for the show and you're not subscribed to the show, please subscribe to the channel. We would absolutely love you for it. If you want to hit us up on not YouTube format, at Tampa Bay Trey, at Connor J. Rogers on Instagram and Twitter. If you are an audio-only listener, you could also follow the show at NFLSE Show on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, all that good stuff. Connor, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, obviously free agency has been a really fun wrench thrown into our entire draft process. So it was good to get on here and kind of just do a free-flowing show, breaking it down, and obviously we'll have a lot more on the way.
Yeah, we're cooking up a lot of fun stuff that we're going to have over the next month and a half, getting you guys ready for the NFL Draft. We're going to have a lot of fun guests, some of your favorite draft personalities here on this show to do some fun exercises. We'll continue to do our prospect rankings. We'll continue to just look at everything that is changing and get you ready for the 2025 NFL Draft as best we can. For Connor Rogers, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. We'll see you guys next time.